Welcome to another round of SDH AM. Here it's a Reaction Monday. John, hear you there. And, of course, he starts off with his mic muted. Good work by me. And once again, it's another Reaction Monday. We've got Major League Soccer. We've got MLS NEXT PRO. We've got the end of the regular season. We're talking about the twos. We're talking about Atlanta United. Talking about MLS NEXT PRO. We're talking about USL League One. We're talking about things that we might have missed over the weekend. We've got cards and calls. We've got the U20s. With Noah Cobb scoring a goal yesterday, and that's part of it. So Abe's going to be here at some point, considering it was a very late night, MLS After Dark involving Atlanta United and LAFC. Then at 10 o'clock, it's Bart Keeler from the Soccer for US POD. We'll get into the U20s. Yesterday, it was the end of the group stage. The U.S. had already clinched the group and was well ahead of the pack. So it was a lineup against South Africa. And it was a 1-0 lead that turned into a 2-1 deficit, and that was how it ended. But we'll go over what happened with the U20s. Noah Cobb scoring a goal in the matchup yesterday in Chile as well. And then 10:30, Gabe Schray, play-by-play voice of Chattanooga FC. And you might recognize his voice if you are a true second and third division sicko here in the SDH footprint and here in the U.S., because Gabe calls some of the games on USL League One that you'll see on the Plus and things like that. So we'll catch up with Gabe about what went on yesterday and get his perspective on what happened with Chattanooga and Atlanta United 2. We'll look at the playoffs a little bit. We'll look at the Eastern Conference a little bit and see the 8 teams. We're going to obviously wait for the matchups because MLS NEXT PRO does pick your partner, and we'll find out what happens there. But do not be surprised if no one wants anything to do with Chattanooga and Huntsville is stuck with them in round number 1. Nothing like Huntsville and Chattanooga again going at each other in the opening round of the playoffs. And like I said, we'll get into USL League One, go over everything that's getting ready for the playoff race there. So that's the morning. Abe, Bart, Gabe. Abe when he can make it. Bart at 10 o'clock. Gabe Schray at 10:30. So that's your rundown for today. The week in and of itself, once again, we catch up with our friend Jason Stevens later today. That will run tomorrow in the Tuesday show. Jason Brown from the NPSL and from the NPSL RL is going to be joining us about 9:40, 9:45. We'll get the update on the RL from him about what's going on with the NPSL. They put out some releases and feelers for folks, and so we'll find out, get what the feedback has been ever since Jason was on with us to break down the release of the league in and of itself and how progress is going. And so we get a progress report from Jason Brown at about 9:40 tomorrow, and we hear from our friend Jason Stevens about multi-club ownership as that mini-series continues. And I believe today our topics are going to be MCOs in the women's game and the possible merger of 2 leagues in 2 countries' main leagues in Europe, and what that means to the overall landscape. And are we going to be seeing more of that? What does that mean for ownership? What does that mean for consolidation? All those kinds of things. That'll be up tomorrow. Wednesday, it'll be Tyler and hopefully Dylan Butler, the busiest man in the Northeast. We'll catch up with him on Wednesday. Obviously, Thursday, you got the Power Hour with Nino and Nico, and we will find out what else is going on the planet. And then on Friday, hopefully catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring and our friends from Major League Soccer to get you ready for a tweener weekend in the international window. And we'll talk a lot about the international weekend as well, Morning David, and find out who is departing and really what the lineup could look like for Atlanta United going down to the erector set, because we know that Messi and friends will not have Messi, nor will they have Rodrigo de Paul. Who else will be out the door? We don't know. Who will be out the door for Atlanta United? We'll find out. And we'll see what it looks like heading into all of that activity as Messi and friends make up their last match. They do so on Saturday, and we'll try and get some opposition research as we build to that as well. So that's the week in the short term as we know it right now. Tonight, 8 o'clock, soccer over there from the Brew House and from parts everywhere. Jason and I will be at the Brew House tonight, going over everything that has gone on in Europe. We do have some news that happened yesterday involving Rangers and the sacking of Russell Martin after a result to a club that required a police escort out of the building. So we got that to get into. We've got all the Premier League stuff to get into. That's soccer over there tonight, 8 o'clock on the network from the Brew House, 8 till about 10, picks of the week, and we'll find out if Sophia won week number 2. All right. Well, he said he was going to be late. I'm late. I'm horribly late. And so what happens? Abe says, here's, I might be a little late this morning because it was a late night last night, and I'm just speeding in, and, I'm working my way into 92.9, and I might be a little late. And so traditionally, Abe's supposed to, Abe's segment starts in the neighborhood of 9:15. This is how late Abe is. Abe is 5 minutes early. He's on the Tom Coughlin scale to break down everything. And so Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game, after MLS After Dark and Atlanta United After Dark last night. Yeah, you're 4 minutes early, sir.
Well, to be fair, I thought traffic was building up when I texted you. I was like, oh, boy, I'm going to sit in this for 10 minutes, and I'm going to be a couple minutes late. Not bad, but a couple minutes. Just give you a heads up. Mm-hmm. And then, right as I texted you, I got to my exit, and what looked like a slowdown was just two idiots not going fast enough. Once we zoomed around them, we were good to go. So I did get a good parking spot, which also helped. And so here we are.
Yes. And good parking spots on Monday are those rare things that you sit there and you go, I will take it, and run like hell. When did you officially go to bed this morning?
I don't do a great job of getting home and being able to go to sleep relatively quickly. And, I am tired when we wrap up the show, which was a little bit before 12:30. But, I get home, I got to walk the dog. And so you kind of re-wake up a little bit while the blood starts pumping as you walk, and then try and lay down and just lay there for an hour. So it's somewhere around 2:30, maybe 3.
Yep, that's about the way it was for me with everything having to go. I just wanted to see if we were simpatico, if we were in line with one another. Now that you've had a nap to digest what happened at MLS After Dark last night with Atlanta United and LAFC, I can't speak highly enough of the defensive effort that was there on multiple fronts. You trot out a formation knowing that LAFC is going to come after you with 2 up top and then Yeonmin Son behind that. And the last now 18 at the end of the night goal actions for LAFC have included either Denny Bouanga or Yeonmin Son. And you see what the environment at BMO Stadium can give you. I've right now the 2 fronts. Atlanta United defensively had a hell of an effort, and it was a goal that happened in the 85th minute, and you were staring at them toe-to-toe for the entire time. And to me, LAFC is one of the favorites, if not the favorite, for MLS Cup.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things, because I do want to place on the table the fact that you lost the game.
Yeah.
And that being understood, I think you're coming off of a match the prior with New England where you got embarrassed. You didn't look driven. You didn't look into it. And there just wasn't many positives in regards to the performance a week prior. And I just didn't feel that way. I almost had trouble using the word encouraged last night, because I do understand you didn't get a result and you're not going to the playoffs, and it's been a rough season for everyone. But I do think you also went toe-to-toe in the home stadium of, like you said, one of the most potent attacks, the most goals scored in the Western Conference, one of the more potent attacks, and probably be leading MLS if Son had been there the entire season as opposed to just 9 matches. Mm-hmm. You stood toe-to-toe with them. You threatened at times a little bit, not as much as I would like, but at times. And you put the fear into them that they are not going to be able to catch Minnesota for 3rd place in the Western Conference because you were holding them to a draw. Obviously, they do find a way, and I don't think there's anyone really to blame for that goal. If you want to force blame, I guess Pedro Amador was late stepping up on the trap. Mm-hmm. Kept a man on sides. But look, I don't think I have a problem with Mihai's attempted clearance off the header. I think from a physical standpoint, he got as much as he could onto it. Happened to be at the feet of Bouanga. And certainly I know Hibbert was self-critical. There's nothing he can do on a shot from inside the 6 from a guy like Denny Bouanga. Any save at that point is a luck save, not a skill save. And so there you go. And so, yeah, I thought you played toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in MLS. And I think pretty much just a sweeping statement. Anytime you're at BMO Stadium, if you're only allowing one goal, I think you've done a pretty good job. I think you give yourself a chance to draw or win. And so it was nice to see them meet that moment because of what we had seen the week prior was such a disgrace, if I don't want to use too strong a word.
Yeah.
But it was disappointing that you couldn't be better against New England. Now you're facing one of the best in MLS, and they're looking you square in the eye saying, man, we're having some trouble here.
You had 3 at the back in the starting lineup. You had 3 center backs and a back 5, but you also had support at any given time from Steven Alzate and Bart Keeler as a part of your starting 11. So you look at the starting 11 going out, Jaden Hibbert in net, left to right, Amador Mihai, Barakal, Gregerson, and Ronald Hernandez, who I think once again stepped up last night. Been consistent all year long when it comes to defensive efforts and stepping up offensively when you need. Your midfield, technically, Bart Keeler, Steven Alzate, they were the 2 in front of your 5. And then you had Miggy Tiare and Miranchuk that were there as a part of your attack. So, I mean, a 5-3-2, 5-2-2-1, whatever you want to call the thing, because once the whistle blows, it's all off anyway. But I think that you hamstrung LAFC with this formation. I think it was good to see how these 3 in the middle, Mihai, Barakal, and Gregerson, all worked together for the first time. And I was impressed with what we saw with them with the limited result that we had last night.
Yeah, we mentioned this in the pre-match discussion. Is like, look, this is an Atlanta United team that has played 5 in the back with 3 center backs at times this season. They haven't done it with this trio of center backs, and so very impressed with the fact that and when you bring new guys in and maybe give them slightly different assignments on a game-by-game basis, is there going to be a drop-off? Is there going to be a miscommunication? Is there going to be guys getting into each other's space? Anything that could create for LAFC an easy opportunity, and there really wasn't that. And that's credit to Jaden Hibbert behind them, but also credit certainly to the 3 center backs, Mihai Barakal and Stian Gregerson in their performance. And I'll say this. Stian Gregerson, I think, had a number of individual efforts while defending Denny Bouanga that I think need to be praised. There were 2, maybe even 3 moments that immediately popped to mind where I'm like, oh, man, Bouanga's got a step. This is probably going to be a goal. And Stian recovered every single time. And one of them, I think, was a bad touch by Bouanga, but the other 2 were Stian making the play to create the issue for Bouanga. I thought this was individually one of Stian Gregerson's best performances because of the respect I have for Bouanga and what I know he can create and accomplish when he gets the ball at his feet, one-on-one situations in the attack. And so, I do think it was nice. And it was one of those things where we've talked about it at times, like how's it going to look next season? And if all 3 of these guys are here, you've got 2 spots. And I think certainly you saw there is an opportunity at times to go with all 3 of them. Very encouraged defensively by what we saw there. The only problem, the only concern, the only question I have is when you have the 3 center backs, when you have the 5 in the back, you just didn't create anything yesterday. With the exception of one moment in which Latte Latte ended up being offsides anyways. But he had a nice touch and then a back heel and Hugo Lloris made a nice save against Moyamba. It wouldn't have mattered anyways.
Yeah.
But with the exception of that moment, and I don't think it was a team that was parking the bus. I didn't feel like they were just playing the ball out and waiting for it to come back in. But you also just didn't create any attack offensively moving forward. And so is that a result of playing 5 in the back? Is that a result of something else I think needs to be studied and taken a look at? but defensively, it was all put together last night.
Yeah, numbers for Stian. 2 clearances, 2 picks, 3 total tackles, 3 of 4 on his duels last night, 57 touches, 87% passing at 41 of 47. Had 1 key pass last night, and he also had 1 long ball. So Stian giving you a couple of efforts in a bunch of different categories last night. And I think that when you say park the bus, and that there's the denotation that is attached to that, where it is basically the idea of, we're just going to have 2 lines of 5, maybe a dude running forward, and we're just going to punt the ball long, and ball's got cooties, and it's somewhat Red Bullsian in your approach, where it's just like, we don't want the ball. It's all yours. You got to do all the work. That wasn't the case last night. LAFC was doing LAFC things, but Atlanta United was matching them defensively and trying to shore up defense first against that attack, and then try to figure out how to counter. It wasn't something, I don't think, where it was just, 13 behind the ball and punt it long. It was a different approach than that last night.
Yeah, I certainly didn't feel that way. I mean, look, you didn't create, but I don't think it was because you didn't try to create. I think there was certainly concerns about misplays that would give LAFC breaks, and so you were very careful with your passes. Maybe was as adventurous as you might have been against a different style team, right, to take some of those chances and get guys moving forward. But yeah, when I think of a team parking the bus, I think they're playing just booted out past midfield and then reset the defense. We'll try and stop them further up the field. And then as they get, whatever. I didn't feel that way. I felt they were attempting to build at times. It just didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, look, I think you play this game the way it played out. Let's remove the goal for a moment. Let's say the game plays out the exact same way to the 85th minute.
Yeah.
Right. And the goal comes in that next minute. Let's say that Mihai's ball is just a little bit further to the touchline and it tightens Buanga's angle and he hits side netting as opposed to drills it in the goal. Or there was a man right in front of Jaden Hibbert, a man on their team. Let's say it deflects off him. He's offsides, or it deflects wide and it's not a goal, right? Like, are we still having these discussions if it goes to the final whistle as a scoreless draw, you pick up a point on the road at LAFC? Like, are we still having this discussion of like, yeah, but you parked the bus or you didn't create offense? And I just don't feel that way. I feel like on the road against a team like LAFC, if you can rescue a point, if you can grab one, especially if you can clean sheet them, I think you're talking about how strong an effort it was. And so a goal that sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't happen, kind of changing the narrative here. I just don't want to follow that path. I'm not sure I really buy that. I didn't think you deserved to win by any stretch. But could I make arguments that you deserved a scoreless draw? I think so. And I feel like we have a different mindset, a different approach to the discussion post-game if that was the result. And so, yeah, I'm just not going to overly criticize because that one goal did come. It just didn't change the effort for me. It didn't change the energy. It didn't change the performance.
9-4-2 LAFC at home going into this match last night. If we were to remove the team name that were the visitors last night at LAFC, and that team X, wearing, masks, the whole Hamburglar outfit, you don't know who it is. If Team X goes into BMO Stadium, comes out of there with a goalless draw against what we've seen from LAFC, what are we talking about in that run? I think we're talking about the effort that the Team X did going into this building to come out with a draw. I think we're talking about that. If it doesn't matter who it is, I know that we're in the context of it being Atlanta United, but I think that if you pull Atlanta United's name out of the hat and you just put Team X in there, hey, Team X went into LAFC and got a goalless draw, then I think that's more of a talking point where you sit there and go, wow, what did Team X do to get this goalless draw, as opposed to 85 minutes and then, something happens and what have you. I think that the tenor is a little different if you remove the team name out of it. Hey, that team went 85 minutes and they hung in there and they gave up a goal and it was 1-0. I think the tenor is a little different if you pull names out of that hat.
Yeah, you also have to take into account the situation that you are in the season, right? I mean, this is a LAFC team that is playing for seeding, hoping to get to the 3 seed and catch Minnesota. And this is an Atlanta United team that's got beyond pride and personal achievement, nothing to play for from a results and standings situation.
Right.
And so, I think the expectation of these two squads are completely different. And the concern for me was less based about last night's match and more based about what is the response to the performance against New England. Are you going to run that back out there? Because if so, you might get run out the building 5-1, 5-0, 6-0. Or are you going to ramp it back up and prove? And again, we're using all these positive terms. I understand this has been a dreadful season. You're not proving anything by playing LAFC to a scoreless draw or whatever. You're still one of the worst teams in MLS over the course of the season. But it's more about, hey, this season could have been different here or there. And so that's the mindset for me is that, look, I think at nothing else, you at least prove that you belong on the pitch with this team and you can play them straight up. Mm-hmm. Did you ever have a chance to win the game? No. Did you have a chance to get a point on the road? Which, I mean, what do we say at the very start of the MLS season? Win your home games, try and get 1 point on the road. Mm-hmm. You were almost there. And so, yes, they do need to find a way to be more dangerous offensively. That actually hasn't really been the issue most of the season. They've been dangerous without converting, right? They've gotten into the box. They've taken shots. They haven't touched the back of the net.
Yeah.
That was a much bigger issue over the course of the season. Last night was different. You just didn't create anything. And so I understand the frustration. But for me, the way I viewed it, this was a positive effort compared to what it certainly could have been in some of the games recently that we've seen where you just look completely lost. It didn't feel that way. Whether or not you thought this was a team that was defending too much to avoid being broken down and not able to attack, the issues in the attack are obvious. Whether you're actually creating or like last night, whether you're creating almost nothing, the attack has to be better. If you go into any match and hold an opponent to one goal, you need to feel like you had opportunities to win that game, not even just draw, but win that game. And that didn't happen for Atlanta United. So we definitely can criticize the attack and whatever lack of an offense there was. But at the same time, I am pleased with the effort. It ended up being a loss. I thought it very easily could have been a scoreless draw. And that's one of the best teams, if not the best, hottest, most trending upwards team in MLS. It was nice not to see, quite frankly, unlike the New England game, it was nice not to see a team get embarrassed out there.
And one other note before you get out of here, Jaden Hibbert. He continues to impress on multiple fronts, and it has been for those of us that have seen him with the twos, and we've seen him over the past year plus, we knew that this was where Jaden Hibbert, his game was evolving. We got to see him in a big game environment last night, and he once again answered the call.
Yeah, we spent some time on Jaden Hibbert last night, myself and Maddie Cruz. And it's a conversation I wanted to bring up. It's not the first time I've brought it up. He was named man of the match again last night. It's his third man of the match of the season, tied for third on the season, behind just Sleesh and Moranchuk, which, if you've watched the year, would make the most sense.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's only played 8-9 matches, whatever the number is, and he's already tied for third on man of the matches. And I know that Ronnie Dyla has loosely spoken about it. Chris Henderson probably a little bit more directly about the goalkeeping decision. And I just don't think that they had planned or considered that Hibbert would be this good this quickly, and put himself into the discussion as next year's number one keeper, number one choice, so strongly.
Yeah.
And the thing that I mentioned with Maddie is we knew the shot blocking was there, right? From a physical standpoint, from an athletic standpoint, nothing surprising in that sense. The fact that a young guy comes in and not only is the moment not too big for him, he certainly doesn't fold. He's there to meet the moment. He just hasn't. What was my concern going in are what are the mistakes that cost this team's goals, right? I just haven't seen any. It's not to say that he's played mistake-free football. He hasn't. But in the end, either he's recovered or someone else has helped him recover. It hasn't cost this team goals, and hopefully he's learned from those moments, be it a bad outlet pass or a decision, whatever it might be. I just don't go back and look at any of the goals conceded and say, boy, this one's on Hibbert. That was my concern as a young goalie making his first foray into starting in the MLS, and that hasn't happened. And again, I don't know what the plan is. I don't know ultimately who's in consideration and who Chris Henderson and staff have their eyes on and are considering going after from a money standpoint or from a contract standpoint, whatever. I don't think they planned on Hibbert being such a strong choice and such a strong option for next season. And I think it's undeniable that he is. And so I'm interested to see, with 2 matches left in the season, and quite frankly, he should only be starting one of those matches. I think Goose needs to start that final home game against DC United, and you sub him off sometime in the second half so we can get the massive roar, massive applause.
Yeah.
So with potentially only 1 match left in the season for Jaden Hibbert, at least from a starting perspective, I think he's been as good as you could have hoped, and arguably significantly better.
All right, what's the latest with you? What's going on at 92.9 The Game, and how much of a nap are you getting in later today?
Yeah, we're gonna try and vibe it out and see how we're going. I got my own soccer league tonight, so I don't want to nap too late and be groggy to take the pitch. But we're looking forward to it. It'll be an interesting roster Saturday night when Atlanta United takes on Inter Miami. Miami's going to be missing a couple of key guys. Atlanta United, I mean, they might be missing half a roster here. So we'll see, but we'll have the whole breakdown. Regular time, which will be nice. 6:30 there on the pregame with a 7:30 kick. This one, final road game of the season for Atlanta United. The penultimate match. So looking forward to it.
As always, my friend, great to see you batting leadoff here on Mondays. Abe Gordon, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. Late night, early morning, hanging out with us. As always, my friend, we'll catch up with you soon and score a couple goals tonight, will you?
I will do my best, John. Thanks.
There we go, Abe Gordon. And Abe bats leadoff. Speaking of Jaden Hibbert, I don't know if you had the chance to listen to this, but this is the part of the Jaden Hibbert press opportunity last night after the match. Figured we would play it here. And it was these are the Jason questions to Jaden Hibbert. Once again, after the 1-0 loss, they do go over what Jaden saw with the goal, and it was an interesting piece of introspection with Jaden Hibbert. So here is, after the match last night, Jason and Jaden Hibbert, courtesy of 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app.
Jaden, I'll start with the goal, just kind of how everything broke down from how you saw it on the ball over the top.
Yeah, I have to watch it back, of course. It's tough when you're in the game, but your memory is really short. Like, it's tough to remember. I do remember the chip over Nea. It's a good header defensively. I'm not sure what the rest of the back line looked. It might have been spread out, but again, it went through my legs. I think that's tough. It was close range. Being critical of myself, I think I shouldn't have gone into that blocking shape, stood up, kicked it out, or, maybe even close some ground, get, a little starfish spread going. But, and I'll talk to my coaches and see what we could do better as a team, and then, by myself personally.
A different shape tonight, something you guys have played this season but hadn't played in a little while, matched LAFC shape. How did you kind of see that chess match playing out for you?
Yeah, right. You said it went. Who could figure out better? I think, we did well. We played out sometimes, went long, trying to connect those passes. Similar in the second half, I thought we did well. It works. We got good footballers that want to play soccer for real. So that system works well for us tonight. I think it was good.
Yeah, first time we got to see a long run out with that trio of Stian and Enea and Juan. How do you like playing behind those three specifically?
Yeah, I love it. I think a good highlight play right there was, Stian lost the ball at one point, and then he's hustling back, body belong, and that's confidence, that's comfortability with the group of guys right there. That's winning tackles, Juan sliding in the 18, making tough plays, and they being a leader back there. I love it. It makes my life a little easier, you know what I mean? But those are great guys.
Last one for me. I said it off the kickoff, that had to be the loudest atmosphere that you've been in front of, being in front of the 3252. What do you think of playing here tonight?
Yeah. Loud, a lot of words said when you're on that other side. It was interesting to see. I love that difficult to communicate, obviously, with players, but I thrive for that atmosphere. It makes your IQ a little bit better. You have to see without talking, and that's a crucial part of football, as you know.
It seemed really well connected. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I think training was solid. We were locked in for this one.
Jaden Hibbert, after the match late last night with Jason on 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Jaden's numbers, by the way, looking at the match in and of itself. On the night, 3 saves for Jaden Hibbert, 1 punch clear, 2 high claims, all 3 saves inside the 18. 42 touches for Jaden last night. Once again, not afraid to advance and work his way forward, but he did stay a little closer to home. We're used to seeing him sweeper keeper and, being outside of his 18. I cannot recall legitimately how many touches he had outside the 18. I don't think there were a whole lot. 19 of 27 passing at 70%, 6 of 14 on long balls, 2 clearances on the night, and he actually won an aerial duel. So those are the numbers for Jaden Hibbert last night as he continues to impress. I know that some of you might be looking at experienced keepers inside of Major League Soccer and trying to figure out what it looks like there. The MLSPA came out with their list of free agents it is their free agent list. And this was the list of folks who are eligible for free agency going out of this season into 26, or those who are up for pending options and trying to figure out, okay, would so-and-so be an option as a part of coming back next year. So if you were to look at, obviously, the keeper position in Major League Soccer right now with the list that was released from the MLSPA, Brad is obviously not under contract for 26. Stephen Cleveland has a pending option as the backup keeper in Austin. Sebastian Breza has an option in CF Montreal. David Bingham is not under contract. He's done this year in Charlotte. And Drake Callender has a pending option as well. Charlotte will be one of the more interesting goalkeeper discussions of the offseason because you have Christian Kalina, you brought in Drake Callender, and you have David Bingham. And kind of have the idea as to what David Bingham will be doing. David Bingham is not under contract. He's probably going to be looking for another gig inside of Major League Soccer. But the fact that you have both Kalina and Drake Callender presents some interesting questions in Charlotte coming up. Do they know something about Christian Kalina? Do they want to try and maximize their profit potential with him and go with Drake Callender next season? That would be a question that Charlotte has to answer in the offseason. Evan Bush is done. He's not under contract in Columbus. Luis Barraza, who has seen a boatload of goals go past him with that porous defense. I don't know if Barraza would be getting a start in 2 weeks for the home finale for Atlanta United, but Luis Barraza is not under contract at DC. Alec Can not under contract with FC Cincinnati. Evan Loro has a pending option with FC Cincinnati. Jacob Jackson, not under contract in Dallas. Andrew Tarbell, not under contract in Houston. And you have William Yarborough, who is has an option with Messi and friends. Brady Scott has an option with LAG. David Ochoa has an option with LAFC. Thomas Hassel has an option with LAFC. Dane St. Clair is not under contract. Keep an eye out Dane St. Clair and see what his market will yield in the 2025 offseason. Because, like I said, not under contract with Minnesota. Keep an eye on that. That should be interesting discussions with the Loons heading into the 26th season. Joe Willis has a pending option in Nashville. Aljaz Ivicic has an option. Remember, though, he was released technically by the Revs. You have Tomas Romero with an option with NYC. AJ Marcucci with an option for Red Bulls. But remember, Marcucci seriously injured himself. I want to say it was in Leagues Cup. I think it was in Leagues Cup where Marcucci injured himself. But he is coming off an injury with one of his wings. Carlos Coronel, not under contract. So keep an eye out for Carlos Coronel. Galese, not under contract in Orlando. George Marks, not under contract in Philly. You have Maxime Crépeau and Trey Muse with options in Portland. You have Mason Steidehar with an option at RSL. You have Zach McMath, not under contract at RSL. Cisniega has an option with San Diego FC. Earl Edwards Jr., an option in San Jose. You have Stephen Fry, who is not under contract in Seattle. keep an eye on that with Andrew Thomas. Are they ready to have Andrew Thomas be the number one in Seattle? You have John Pulskamp with an option at Sporting. You have Ben Lunt, who is not under contract with all caps. Sean Johnson has an option in Toronto. Adrian Zendejas has an option in Vancouver. Isaac Boehmer with Vancouver is not under contract. And then you have a couple of pool keepers. Elliot Panico, who we're used to seeing with Nashville, has a pending option. And that is your current pool for free agents, at least between the sticks right now, and heading out of the 25 season into the 26 season. That's what you're staring at just in league. So if you are any club looking for a keeper, that would be the short list of folks inside Major League Soccer that you might be staring at. But right now, what we've seen from Jaden Hibbert has someone who is not intimidated at all by the moments that he has been in front of. And I thought it was interesting where after it was in the question that Jason asked about the goal, and Jaden was instantly questioning himself and his positioning and his own layout. Is he going to, should he have closed up shop? Literally, he was thinking of it as like a hockey goalie where, okay, he had his legs open, they go 5-hole, and it goes between his legs and the net. Jaden instantly questions himself, and he's probably going to go back and look at it with, as he said, he's going to go back and look at it with his coaches, where should he have closed up shop? Should he have, had his legs next to each other? Should he have starfished? Should he have done whatever? That kind of instant analysis for Jaden, I thought was really interesting last night, where he admitted he should not have had his legs. He should not have had the wide open approach. And then you had the goal scored 5-hole on him, basically between the legs. And so I thought that was an interesting piece of introspection for Jaden Hibbert last night after the match. Let's get into the stats and the numbers. We'll hear from Ronnie Dyla coming up in a bit. Bart Keeler joining us at the top of the hour. We're going to talk U20s, and we're going to talk cards and calls. And Alan Chapman, it would have taken me entirely too long to come up with a mixtape for Alan Chapman. And it is a mixtape not in the way that you would have anticipated, for anybody like that. It was just, I don't know. I legitimately don't. And this is a separate aisle in the store. This is not, there were moments where the iniquity in calling fouls was just immense. And there were moments where you're just sitting there going, I don't know what you think you see. I don't know where you're going with any of this. But yeah, I have that was another point of frustration for the entire evening, and actually it was a point of frustration for the entire day if you include the twos. But the men in the middle yesterday that were involved with Atlanta franchises, regardless of league, it was not a good day. It was not a good day, and it was one-sided on one end, and then it was just non-existent in other points. But yeah, if I were to put together a mixtape and maybe put Yakety Sax underneath it, it would have taken a while. Stats from last night on the day, and obviously we all know what the XG difference was last night. Possession 54-46 for LAFC, 1.61 to 0.07. 3 big chances, 15 total shots to 3 keeper saves for Jaden Hibbert on the night, compared to 1 for Hugo Lloris. 9 of the 10 corners went to LAFC. Only 16 fouls called. That is concerning. We knew going in that Alan Chapman was not one to really blow the whistle a lot. But when he did, he would issue yellow cards. His percentage of yellow card to foul was fairly high, even though he was next to last, period, when it came to fouls per game average. He did not even reach his fouls per game average. I want to say is 23 or 24. He got to 16. And I think last night, for whatever reason, the match was too big for him. And it was color your own adventure with Alan Chapman last night on the field at BMO. You only called 16 fouls when there were clearly more than that. There were some questions about, you should have been advantaged, and it's just, I don't know where to start, frankly. I really don't. But there were too many moments where you're questioning what he was attempting to call or do or not call. And I didn't realize that the number was this low. Only 16 fouls called last night. 9 of them on LAFC, 7 on Atlanta United. When you're usually calling 23 or 24 and you only call 16 when you really could have called 23 or 24, and a lot more of them on, say, a Ryan Porteous or a Hollingshead or a Sergi Palencia, and you didn't. The environment, I think, really, and the match itself, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know when he wasn't thinking it, but it was a subpar performance from Alan Chapman, and that's the word I'm going to use. Passes on the night, about 15% less by Atlanta United. 34 tackles, 19 for Atlanta United. 16 free kicks, 9 to Atlanta United. 3 yellow cards. 3 yellow cards on 16 fouls. That is another interesting. That's another interesting percentage. That's a high percentage of about just under 20%. 20% of your fouls resulted in the yellow cards being shown to players, which I find that's another interesting number there as well. 15-3 on shots, 4-1 on target. Atlanta hit the woodwork once. 7 shots off target. 4-2 in blocks for LAFC. 11 shots inside the 18, 4 outside, 3 outside for Atlanta United. In the attack, once again, 3 big chances missed, 2 through balls, and 28-0 in touches inside the opposing 18. 3 times fouled in the final third, 2 to LAFC, 3 offsides for LAFC, 1 to Atlanta United. Duels on the night, 54% to 46 for Atlanta United. They won 34 on the ground compared to 31, and they won 9 of the 14 in the air. And on the dribble was the only place where they were beat when it came to activity. It was 10 of 17 on the dribble for LAFC, 6 of 15 for Atlanta United on the night. So 2 high claims for Hibbert, 1 punch, 12 goal kicks compared to 3 for Hugo Lloris. And once again, by the end of the night, it was a goal in the 86th minute. They gave it the 86th minute now. So it's an 86-minute goal by Denny Bouanga, 18 goal efforts in a row now, either attached to Sonny or to Denny Bouanga. And right now in the standings after last night, LAFC still has match or matches in hand. They have 2 in hand on San Diego. They do play in the midweek against Toronto on Wednesday night. Then they turn around and play Austin to make up those 2 matches that they have in hand on folks above them. So it is a match against Toronto on Wednesday night. Then everybody who is not on international break is heading out, and then they play Austin 7 o'clock Sunday night for a Sunday night soccer. So right now, Western Conference, 2 matches in hand. The top 4 have separated themselves, and it's getting close to where the top 4 are just going to go off on their own, and then everybody else is going to fight. Seattle's kind of in the 5th spot right now. They've got a match in hand that they have to sort out. San Diego, 33 matches, 60 points. Vancouver with a win yesterday. They are at 32 matches and 60 points, 17 wins. And they have a far superior goal difference of 28-19. Minnesota, 33 matches played, 58 points. LAFC, 1 or 2 matches in hand. After this weekend, we will know where LAFC stands. Could be as much as 62 points. Seattle at 49 points right now, 32 matches played. So they have matches in hand. They have a match in hand that they have to worry about. 7 points right now behind LAFC, 5 points ahead of both Austin and Portland. Austin has 32 matches played, 12 wins. Portland has 33 matches, 11 wins. Portland across the board, the model of consistency, 11, 11, and 11. Dallas at 41 points. RSL at 40, 12 wins. Colorado, 40 points, 11 wins. San Jose still in the fight for the 8-9. They're at 38 points. Houston eliminated over the weekend at 36. They have the 1 match to go. All Caps, 1 match to go at 31. Kansas City, 1 match to go, 27. 2 matches to go for LAG, and they're at 24 points. They've given up 64 goals this season. Kansas City, by the way, has given up 70 goals. They've only scored 46. LAG on the road this year, 0-10-7. So that's the Western Conference for you. We mentioned Ronnie Dyla after the match. So here is Ronnie Dyla, once again, courtesy of our friends at 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app. Once again, catching up with Jason here after the match at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles.
I'm proud of the boys today. I think we talked last time about being soft and all these different things, that we didn't have the team spirit and discipline that we wanted. I think now we really put everything on the pitch. We kept the game even, and you know, we need to get a little bit more out of the things we have around the box. I think we should have more crosses inside. We should have more players inside when we have these opportunities. But then we overplayed a little bit too much sometimes. And defensively, I think we were very solid, very organized. Short distances between us, and there was a mistake in the end, and that's sad because I think we should get something out of the game. But as I said to the players, if we're going to get points away, this is what needs to be in the bottom, about organized, being hardworking, being disciplined, and then with confidence and all these different things, more belief after all the things we've been through, then I think also we'll see more quality in the next phase.
Even with a different structure tonight, it felt like the principles of what you want this team to do were there consistently. How was this past week of training getting ready for this game? What was the response to the New England loss?
Yeah, a lot. I think we had a very good training week. We talked about aggression. We talked about reactions. We talked about being disciplined, do the job, and that's done the whole week. And they took that into the game today as well, and that has to be in the bottom, as I said. And I'm happy with that. But of course, when we are changing the style a little bit, and also it's more difficult to get offensive play to be 100%. But I think today we come and we try to defend a lot, but we also have patches of a good play that we could have more out of the situations.
The last one from me, Gregerson played really well, and he's played really well for a while now. How important is he for what you want to do with this team going forward?
It's important, but sad that again had to take him off because of he felt a little bit something in his legs. So that do something, because those three in the center there is men, and they are tough to play against. And I think they did a good job today against two very, very good players up front. So Stian is important. Same with the others, but we need consistency, and hopefully can keep more 90 minutes.
Okay, so John's an idiot. Good work by John. You're sitting there and it's welcome to a Monday. Anyway, so as I was saying to myself and to no one else, once again, thanks to 92.9 The Game and the Odyssey app, Ronnie Dyla after the match. And Ronnie made a point in that where it was discussing the idea of, with a formation change, having to try to figure out how to do things offensively, and that was going to take some time and adjustment. And so that I completely get. When you have three at the back and you have 5 at the back, 3 center backs. You have 5 at the back, and then you have the 2 midfielders that are sitting as they traditionally do in that 4-2-3-1. One of them is going to end up being almost a de facto center back anyway. No, not in this match. No, Emilio, you were not soft. If you were Atlanta United, you were not soft in that match. I was soft in making sure that I muted myself and didn't unmute myself because, that's me on a Monday. Actually, it's me Monday through Friday. Who are we kidding? But it was to hear Ronnie say that it was going to take a while to sort things out offensively because of the formation change. That was something that, John muted himself basically. Yeah, because what I try to do is you don't want me running commentary the entire time. So, yeah, you lost audio when I came back. You heard Ronnie. Okay, that's interesting. That's very odd. Do you hear me now, by the way? Well, let's start there. Do you hear me? Because I was muted. I muted myself. You heard Ronnie. And I was wondering if you heard me. And the soft comment is something that has been mentioned, but it is also, and this is one thing that I need to make clear. The comment about, yes, they were soft after New England, it has been mentioned before, but it has also been mentioned by the players themselves. The players themselves have admitted that they do not need to continue to be acting in that manner, for lack of a better phrase. They know that they need to harden up. Just ask Bart Sleesh. Bart Sleesh has brought it up in post-match comments and Dr. D, when I will say that I will say this. So Dr. D wants to know, is soft a fair take? When the players themselves mention it, then I think it is. Like I said, Bart Sleesh has mentioned it in post-match comments when he's been asked. So if players are bringing it up themselves, then I think if they see it and it's something that they know they need to change, then I think that it is a fair take, because if the players themselves are bringing it up, then I think that answers the question. But you have to be reminded in these situations, and especially after New England. I think that after New England, you are being challenged. You are being reminded and being challenged at the same time. So I think that's where we are. So, Dr. D, to answer your question, if the players are bringing it up, then I think it's a fair assessment. If they themselves are acknowledging it, then that's where we go. One of the things that David brought up, one of the things that David brought up that I do want to lead off in our Alan Chapman discussion, and it was stunning to see. And David, thank you for reminding me about this because it was so shocking at the time. Literally, Bart Sleesh is horse-collared, DDT'd, whatever. And you see him slam to the turf. And Alan Chapman basically puts his index finger on Bart Sleesh. Literally, he is doing this bit to Bart Sleesh. You don't do that. If you're a center rep, and this, I think, probably was the microcosm of the evening for Alan Chapman, and I cannot wait until Inside the VAR studio happens on Friday and it's buried in a news dump. I want to know if they address any of this. If Alan Chapman is not disciplined by whomever, pro, the league, whatever the appropriate party is, then you've opened a door. And like I said, I want when Bart comes in, and he's in now, and so this is what I want to talk about. And thank you, David, for reminding me about this. So before we get into the U20s and the discussion about everything going on with everything else going on with the U's, I'm going to ask Bart a reffing question. So Bart's now in. Hi, by the way.
Good morning.
As you are dropping your Comet gear once again for soccer, I believe.
Yeah.
Have you or do you know of any of your comrades in arms or any other situations where a center ref put their hand on a player trying to emphasize a point?
So that was okay. Don't do that. That's what we're taught, right? There's, acceptable forms of contact, I think, which would be, I don't know, reaching a hand out to say, "Hey, I'll help you get up after you've fallen down." Um, sometimes you put your arm, pat them on the back to say like, "All right, man, let's jog a little faster to get off the field."
Mhm.
There are acceptable forms of contact, just as there are in just about any walk of life. But I'll be honest, if anyone in any part of life at all would have put their finger in someone's chest, that would be mostly inferred as an aggressive move. And I can tell you this, that if a player had done that to a referee,
Mhm.
there would be a fine coming.
I mean, shoot, we
If
saw
not,
it with Thiago Almada and Joe Dickerson.
right. If not a sanction of some sort in the match, right?
Mhm.
Be it a yellow card or a red card,
Mhm.
there would be a fine coming. What time they come on Wednesday? I don't know when they get delivered in the
Sure,
manila
when the
envelope.
overnight envelope shows up at the
Yeah.
office and they make the press release.
Yeah. When you got a sign for the FedEx delivery,
Mhm.
right? That would have happened. Now, this incident shouldn't have happened. I don't understand. To me, there was nothing that caused this scenario to rise to the level of pointing a finger in someone's chest.
And literally, Bart, you see, and the goal and the ref cam was the dead stone
Yep.
cold giveaway in this. And I mean, I don't know if the TV provider, the network that was broadcasting this match, is getting a phone call from somebody. Why did you include that? I mean, literally, it was a great piece of video where Alan Chapman gets busted from ref cam, putting his finger on Bart Sleesh's chest repeatedly, poking at him for whatever, as he's trying to emphasize whatever he was trying to emphasize there. It was stunning.
Look, I think there's a difference between like, you pointed at someone, and pointing your finger into their chest, poking your finger into their chest. There absolutely is a difference.
Yeah.
And there's you put your hand on their shoulder, be like, well, you did this and you did this, and now we're gonna, like mom used to do on the when you got in your fight with your best friend. All right, well, you did this and you did this. Now shake hands and make up, and let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened here. Again, there are acceptable forms of a referee making contact with the player, right? If it's a gesture of goodwill, if it's a gesture of compassion, if it's a nice light touch on the shoulder to just kind of
trying to
in that case to bring things down a little bit.
Yeah, you're
or in my case, when I'm refereeing some of the U14 games, I run over a kid because I can't see them, which does happen unfortunately more than I would like to because I can't see them, John.
Yes.
And they're not looking for me because they're trying to run after the ball. It happens.
Correct.
I do not. I mean, look, this is 2-time referee of the year, Alan Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I would love to see how Pro handles this, how PSRA handles this. PSRA?
Mm-hmm.
PSRA. Sorry, not
Yeah.
PRSA.
Yeah,
not the Public Relations Society.
Professional Soccer Referees Association, I think.
John, I got 2 governing bodies of my professions that do have similar acronyms. It's confusing.
Yes.
I'm curious how they handle this. I'm curious how the league handles this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be real. We only have 2 more weeks left in the season.
But Alan Chapman, if he's 2-time referee of the year, reigning belt holder, there's a postseason, and would you be in the middle for any of that stuff?
Right. Those are legitimate questions that I think need to be asked. And I think if I'm Atlanta United, despite a whole lot of things not going your way this year, I think there needs to be some sort of complaint filed with the league. This is an unacceptable form of behavior from a referee to do it, and in an aggressive tone. In an aggressive tone, it because that was not a. I don't think pointing a finger into the middle of someone's chest is ever considered something that would be a de-escalating or compassionate or
conciliatory
friendly gesture. Yeah. And it seemed like that. I'm very surprised that Bartosz did not do something.
Didn't retaliate.
I'm going to be real honest.
Yeah, it's like
at least swat it away.
Get your hand off of me. That to me, it's like if that wasn't captain's behavior, then I don't know what was. If you were that calm in that heated a situation where you basically were DDT'd into the turf at BMO and your teammates and you wander over to Alan Chapman and your teammate basically from behind pulls the jersey away to show the scratch mark and the moment of impact where you were dragged down, and literally teammate goes like this. Alan Chapman instead decides he's going to do this bit and he's going to do this. I look, he's a better man than I am. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
I did not, like I said, I didn't know if you had ever, even in watching a professional.
No, we do not, like, I would say when you are first learning to referee, like your first course and then on, like the rule is do not touch the players.
Yeah.
Period. Now, as you grow into being a referee and you learn more high level game management, you understand that, like, for example, okay, I'm AR1 on a couple games this weekend.
Okay.
And my job in that in that case is to control substitutions, right? Now, I'm not going to go and pull a kid back, but I'm going to keep my hand right behind them by the top of their back maybe, and say, all right, guys, wait. And then when it's time, I say, all right, you can go. Especially if, like, they had a case where a kid was hurt because kids get hurt in soccer. Yes. And he goes off the field and the referee says, okay, yeah, make this up. And I say, all right, go on. And I give him a nice little, pat on the back, say, all right, you can go. Because kids don't listen. So that is an example of, okay, this is called game management. Or like I mentioned, hey, let me help you up. Game management. Or, I mean, it happens. We see it frequently at the pro game. A guy is taking his time to leave the field. Never in MLS would this happen because we have rules that do not allow players, unless they're super high level and get paid a whole lot, to take their time to get off the field. And a referee might be go over to him, run up next to him and say, all right, man, come on, and give him a nice little
move along.
Come on. Like you're trying to herd a cattle off somewhere. Again, there are acceptable forms as you learn, as you grow into to your profession. There are acceptable forms of very light physical contact within the refereeing sphere. However, in this case, could you imagine if Bart had done that to the referee?
Whew.
And that's the problem here, is this is an action that we would take grave offense to had the player done this to the referee. And the fact that the referee did this to the player is
major.
I'm at Atlanta United, I am filing a very large complaint.
Yeah, it is a no of major proportions.
Yeah.
And
I would almost go as far, John, because I do think this is egregious, to asking for some sort of actual match replay. And I know that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
But that is the level to which, I mean, it's not like he hauled off and punched him. No, but again, had this been a player who did this to a referee, that player would have been sent off. At least he would have got a yellow card for it. And I could see this being a sending off offense, because
absolutely.
that is an aggressive form of dissent.
I firmly could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm Atlanta United, I'm not. Look, what else do you have to lose? I truly would file of the strongest appeal that I possibly could.
And like I said, I cannot wait to see if either pro / the PSRA does anything in the news dump late this weekend where or you don't see Alan Chapman center reffing anything. Well, this weekend, I would say on decision day, I would find out where Alan Chapman is. I would keep an eye out on decision day and find out what Alan Chapman is up to on decision day, because this weekend, where it's an international window and you've only got a handful of matches, it's probably not all hands on deck. Hey, go take a vacation. Everything's fine. You get that week of breathing room. I want to see where Alan Chapman is assigned on decision day. That to me is one of the big signs in all of this, and how much thought went into what happened last night. Because look, that ref cam, it's a great idea, but Alan Chapman got busted.
And that's the other thing is, as a referee, you have to understand that I've got the camera on me as well. So, and I say Alan Chapman, 2-time referee of the year. That was back in 2017 and 2019.
Sure. Yeah, that was
a while ago.
8 and 6 years ago. Yes, absolutely true. No.
So.
And just in general, Chapman, I don't, like I said, I said this in the open. I said, I don't know what Alan Chapman was doing last night. I really don't.
I think that's another element to all
He was all over the place last night. And when he was all over the place, he also wasn't in the place last night. There were some things where you had stuff happening to Atlanta United players being thrown to the ground consistently. They were being stepped on. Nothing happening. You're having fouls called. You're having fouls called on Atlanta United players while they are on offense, and they're doing nothing except being on offense. I don't know. I legitimately do not know.
Well, John, we had to get Denny Bwanga back in the goal scoring race,
Yes.
And I hate to go narrative down here, but I was tired of hearing about that.
Well,
and then he finally scores, and we got to hear about it. I was so tired of hearing about it.
It wasn't a drinking game last night. At least it wasn't a drinking game. So
had it been, we would have been in trouble.
This is what I'm saying with MLS After Dark. U20s, Gabe Schray is joining us in about 20 minutes. So U20s yesterday, I mean, it was a game that was on the board. The U.S. had pretty much they'd won the group. This was one where Marko Mitrovic could kind of experiment a little bit. But before we get into the discussion about the U20s, there was a moment that folks here in this footprint got to listen to yesterday, courtesy of our friends at FS2.
Winder very strong in the air, the number 4 for the USA. Keep an eye out for him. Oh, and there in front of him to bury the header is Noah Cobb. Quite a moment on his World Cup debut at this level.
So Noah Cobb off a set piece, off a corner, gets the goal that was, 1-0, then it ends up 1-1 right at the death of the first half, 2-1 final. Okay, great. But you got Marko Mitrovic got to sit there and have lineup changes and some rotation before heading into the knockouts. Group stage is over. What say you about the U20s down there in Chile?
Look, I think if you play this game 10 times, the U.S. wins 7 of them. When you just look at the stats and how they played, it wasn't like, the South African goalkeeper had 6 saves, U.S. dominated possession, dominated shots. Now, I'll say part of that was a little second half game state, but the own goal by Widener, which sucks.
Yes.
And a late, if you're taking anything critical, it's, hey, boys, we got to finish off a half better. Right. But outside of that, you go, look, we had 66% possession, created 17 total shots, 12 of those inside the penalty area, John. You score 2, you only score 1 goal. Technically, you score 2 if you want to count it, but, it happens. I'd rather a guy defend than not, and sometimes that happens, and you get an own goal. As I would tell any defender who's defended in front of me, I'm like, I'd rather you try. I'd rather you take because the chances that you score an own goal are just low. I think you can still feel very positive about this team despite the negative result. It just, things didn't go the way you needed them to go. And South Africa is a good enough team to punish you if you do not capitalize on your advantages. So that's, again, maybe that's the lesson, is close out a half better and make sure you capitalize on the advantages you're given. But at the same time, and this is where mentality comes into play, and not in a bad way, but I mean, you had a plus 11 goal differential, I think I said it, like, you were basically guaranteed to win the group as long as you didn't lose this game by like 5 goals.
Yeah.
You didn't do that. So congrats, job done. You move on to the next round. You've won the group, which is a pretty impressive thing to say, considering you're in a group with, France, first off, and then a good South Africa team. So now your reward for that is Italy.
Yes, France. Japan, Chile, they're 1 and 2 in Group A. Egypt was the number 3. Ukraine and Paraguay out of Group B. South Korea was the number 3. Morocco, Mexico, Spain, Brazil, Group C, the group of death. Morocco and Mexico are the 1-2. Spain was the number 3. Brazil wraps up with a draw and 2 losses in the U20s.
Yeah.
Group D, Argentina, Italy, Australia, the 3. Cuba does not advance. They were 4. USA, South Africa, France, and New Caledonia. And it was Group F, Colombia, Norway, Nigeria, the 3, and Saudi Arabia. Third place teams ranked: France, Nigeria, South Korea, and Spain. Wasting no time, really, in the knockouts. You end up with Ukraine and Spain falling mainly somewhere on the plane, perhaps. And Spain at 3:30 today, 7 o'clock, Chile and Mexico. Mexico is a minus 103. Next matchup for the U.S. is 3 days from now. So that would be Thursday, and they get Italy. And right now they're an underdog at a plus 174. As Jarrett joins us now. And we are discussing everything from the U20s to Alan Chapman, Jarrett.
I'm still like, obviously, this had nothing to do with the end result of the game because Atlanta was continuously woeful on offense. Fine on defense for the most part. Like, that keeping that LAFC team off the board is a feat. For 85 minutes is a feat that very few have accomplished this year. So it was very funny when Atlanta did it for 85 minutes until everyone just decided not to track their runners at the very end of the game. I did think it was very funny when, after Bartosz Slisz is raked across the chest by Ryan Porteous, who remains one of the biggest shitbags I have ever seen play this sport when he was in Scotland. This is a guy who, when he was at Hibs, got into a yellow card tackle with Christian Ramirez and then proceeded to lift his heel and just cut shot Christian Ramirez for no damn reason other than he was just being a bitch. This is something he consistently did. He got his ass sent off with the Scottish national team when they got deconstructed by Germany in the last Euros. Like, he's never been anything more than a shit heel. He's a good defensive shit heel who is good in the air and can occasionally drop a ball like he did leading to the goal. But my favorite part was he raked Slisz across the chest, and that Alan Chapman is poking Bartosz Slisz in said chest. And if Bartosz Slisz had brushed his arm away, he almost certainly would have at least gotten a yellow, if not sent off, after he's getting chastised by the referee for getting his chest raked like a WWE performer.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the defense was fine. It was fine. Jaden Hibbert's outstanding. He should be competing for the starting job next year because
I gotta, Jarrett, that has to be, I'm sorry, that, like, from a roster building perspective, Jaden Hibbert's got to be your guy. Of all of the things you have to worry about next year.
Here's why I say he's going to have to earn it, Bart, and I agree with you. He should be the guy. I agree with you. Josh Cohen, I think, is out of contract or has an option. You're not picking that up.
Out of contract.
Josh Cohen's out of contract. I'm not bringing him back. He got passed by a 21-year-old. I feel more confident about John O'Ransom, who was tearing it up with the twos. I'm not paying Josh Cohen's salary to be that backup.
bring in a guy who has been an MLS dude for a while, but does not have a large
Yes.
salary. That's
Let
my
him-
thought, right? Because you
Let,
just
let him
of all the
compete.
places you need to, yes, of all the places you need to be worried about your budget, I don't think goalkeeper is one right now because you got a guy who doesn't cost you anything, who's
No, I agree. I think you're gonna,
adequate.
but I think exactly what you're saying is what you would do. I'm bringing in somebody with experience, and I'm saying, hey, go beat Jaden Hibbert for that spot. And Jaden Hibbert's gonna go, that's cute. No, how about it's mine? And then he's going to take it, I think, because he's shown you nothing to suggest that anyone is going to take that spot from him. I agree with you. You are going to bring someone in to compete with monolithic air quotes. That's Jaden's spot. I agree with you. I still don't know what you do about this offense that looks like there is one point in the second half of that game where Atlanta triggers like a 3-on-3 counter, and it was like watching a kitten cross an interstate. No one had ideas.
Man,
Jarrett,
that's the frustrating part with this team offensively. Like, what are we doing? We are 32 games into this 32 games into this season.
34 to the game season.
What are we doing?
Left. Not scoring. I don't know why. Right now you have effectively, and I don't know what the explanation is, if they're like nursing an injury or however they want to spin it. You are benching the second highest transfer in this league's history. And the guy who is made of Fabergé that you're starting instead, I would start 10 times out of 10 because Jamal CRA might be fragile, but Jamal's going to work his ass off. And that is as good as I can get right now. I don't know, man. Like Samaranchuk can pick a shot out from the edge of the box. And he's brilliant at it. And the reason you don't have the spoon right now, is because Alexei Miranchuk kept pulling you out of the fire throughout the summer. And that was great. And it was fun. Like, Alexei Miranchuk kind of hit his stride, and we're like, oh, this could be, like, this is what we wanted from you. The other pieces aren't working, but this is what I wanted from him. He can hit some absolutely absurd balls, and he can pick out a shot from the edge of the 18. I love it. But your striker doesn't, the guy you paid $22 million for, doesn't seem to run around with purpose. Your backup striker does. Your wing players don't seem to consistently be able to perform and are somehow physically incapable on a soccer field, which, if you've ever stood on one, is quite large, always seem to be in each other's way. And after 32 games, Bart, I don't know how that is the case. Like, on accident, it should not be the case.
That's kind of where I'm at, Jared, is like, there's too much talent. Now, I say talent. This is what the front office has told me based on how much money they're paying for these players and the hype that we were told about these, right? We have been told there's a lot of talent up there. And
I think there is.
What are they doing?
I just think
that's
not,
kind of
I
the
think
frustrating
I
part.
think it is.
I mean,
but it's not a team. They don't play together.
But at some point, really talented players would find a way to produce a goal or two a game. And that's what's frustrating, is like, even these guys who are insanely talented, insanely experienced, can't do it. You know?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think they're a number of these players are genuinely technically talented players. And it is beyond perplexing that this offense is incapable of generating something. And then when they do, they almost look like they're looking up at each other for permission to do something. And I know it was a thing a couple of years ago to complain about taking shots from distance, but you have to sometimes. You get a look from the edge of the 18. Have a crack, man.
You're seeing that from
Like,
you're seeing that with Alexi and
you
Bart.
saw-
They're not afraid.
Yeah, Bart did it. Yeah, I mean, he put it right on. He put it right on Hugo Lloris, whose AARP sponsored ass was just not having to move for it. I love Hugo Lloris. The man was a damn saint in France during some of the most turbulent years of French soccer, which is saying a lot. Go back to the 2010 World Cup and get back to me if you don't remember that. But aside from a deflected shot that almost went in, which would have been hilarious, by the way, if Atlanta had held on and won 1-0 on like Jaden Hibbert standing on his head and a deflected goal, would have been the most MLS shit ever. I would have loved it. I would have loved it because it would have pissed off Taylor Twellman so much he'd have turned beet red like Kirk Herbstreit. Oh God. I needed that, and it didn't happen because, man, like everybody looks like they're checking with each other to see if they can pull the trigger. Man, just pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe
Schray dropping by. Yeah, I know. Gabe Schray dropping by in 5 minutes to talk about MLS Next Pro, talk about the twos in Chattanooga and the playoffs, and maybe a little USL League One as we continue this morning. Were there any calls on the weekend, Bart, whether MLS or Premier League, that stuck out to you as like, oh my God, what happened here?
Well, I do want to talk about DC United getting the 2 red cards because I agree a little bit with the commentators so for those who don't know, DC United, because they are somehow a worse soccer team than Atlanta, they figured that out. They received 2 red cards in the first half and gave Charlotte the biggest benefit that they ever could get. And the only reason Charlotte wins games is because they cheat. So Charlotte kicks a ball long for, I think, Zaha. And it's going toward the penalty area. A DC United defender kind of steps in to shield, but the DC goalkeeper comes about 2 yards outside of his box and picks up the ball. Neither referee, by the way, saw this in live action, and that's another issue I have is why isn't your AR able to at least see this? Because this was not a close play, in my opinion. About a minute of play goes by, and we stop live action for a VAR review. The referee goes to the monitor and says, okay, yes, the goalkeeper did pick up the ball outside the penalty area, and we're giving a red card for dogso. Now, John, we've gone through dogso before.
Yes, we have.
Distance, direction, defenders, and distance.
Oh.
Right? So, distance to goal. Well, yeah, we're close. We're 2 yards outside the penalty area. We're close. Direction, sure, we're going toward goal. Distance to ball, well, this goes into the defender's question because there's a defender between the attacker and the ball. I don't agree with this being a red card. I don't understand why this was given a red card, personally.
Oh, and for the record, it was Josh and Jamie that were on the call for that one. So that
There
was,
you go. And the commentators were also equally kind of stunned because, look, it is absolutely should have been called a foul in the moment, right? I think that is the problem here. And you can give a yellow card to the goalkeeper for this. But this is, to me, not a red card. At all. And that to me is a mistake on their end. Now granted, DC still got a red card 9 minutes later because Aaron Herrera put a head into Zaha's chest, which Zaha deserved a yellow card in this whole scenario as well because he was instigating a heck of a lot.
That was amazing shithousery by Zaha. And I said, I agree with you. He should have gotten a yellow, 100%. Like as Herrera is stepping over him, Zaha grabs his leg and picks it up off the ground.
Correct.
He kind of bucks at Herrera and gets Herrera to bite, and then Herrera goes full Zidane. Like it is absolutely instigating from Zaha. 1000%. The fact that he didn't get popped for it for a yellow card is completely asinine. Although Herrera 100% earned his red card.
Herrera gets a red card for putting putting his head in someone's chest, that is a red card, right?
Yes.
You can't headbutt someone.
No.
But yeah, Zaha deserved a yellow card in this scenario as well. But as Charlotte seems to always get away with it, they get away with it. And Will Zaha never gets actually punished for being a little bit of a baby that he is.
A low down dirty
it's
cheater.
fun. You said it, John, not me. I'm a neutral reporter here.
Yes, of course.
Except when it comes to Charlotte and probably Nashville.
Yes. And so Luis Barraza, by the way, he's done. He's out of contract and he's done playing at DC United. So he will not be appearing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as we go in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, that's right. We play them in the final.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are another couple of.
We might avoid the wooden spoon, John, or we might not avoid the wooden spoon as DC beats us at home. Great.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I won't be there for that, so that's great.
All right. So what's happening at the Soccer for US POD?
We're gonna find a time this week to record, either today or Wednesday, and talk about the 26 players called in for U.S. national team camp. Hopefully, I don't think there's any injury replacements needed. I think we're all clear there, but we'll see if they drop any news this morning about it. But I think we're okay. That's why we do wait to talk about the roster until the weekend of soccer, because Lord knows with this U.S. national team, someone has to get hurt all the time. So there you go. We're hopefully going to record this week and it'll be out by Friday.
There you go.
Thursday. Probably Thursday.
That sounds good. As always, Bart, great to catch up with you on Mondays and find out what's going on in your part of the universe at Soccer for US POD and at Bartimus Prime 19. Good that you're dressing out with the South Gwinnett stuff this morning. We always appreciate those kinds of things. Be safe.
No comments.
We'll see you soon.
Bye,
all right, now we're switching. We're going from Bart with cards and calls and Alan Chapman and finger pokes of doom on Atlanta United players to talk MLS Next Pro, get into the discussion involving Atlanta United 2, Chattanooga FC, and all points in between. For that, we bring in our buddy Gabe Schray, who's a part of the network. And, Gabe, if you're a true sicko from his activity calling USL League One and a bunch of other things, and he takes like late night flights out of South Florida to come back to Chattanooga to call all things CFC. Gabe Schray, good morning.
True sicko. I think that's a great way to describe you and I as well. you gotta get there somehow.
You ain't kidding, brother. As the voice of CFC, figured I'd bring you into the discussion with me and Jarrett Smith to discuss what happened yesterday at Fort Finley and the chaos of MLS Next Pro in general. From your perspective, opening statement from what happened yesterday, and one of the cruelest ways to lose and not get into the playoffs for the first time ever. Atlanta United 2 goes into sudden death in the PK rounds and goes into round number 6 before getting saved by Eldin Jakupovic. And Chattanooga FC is going to be a part of the discussion right in the middle of the playoff table in the Eastern Conference.
Well, there's a lot to say, right? And that's a huge conversation when you talk about that matchup specifically. You dive into the table. I have a few things to say about Atlanta United, but let me start with addressing Chattanooga, right? That's why I'm here. Yes. Chattanooga Football Club. It's been emotional for me to be around and be a part of it for so long now. To watch the club go from amateurism to professionalism in NISA and develop from NISA into MLS Next Pro and post this unbeaten streak to end the season, to qualify for the playoff, to be the first ever club to host, an independent club to host a home match. Genuinely was emotional at the wrap up of the end of the match there. That's special stuff for Chattanooga, for the city, for the club. So proud of what the club has been able to do and the people around the front office and the attendance numbers, the community. It's really unbelievable. Off the pitch. On the pitch, the game has changed throughout the year, and Chris Nugent has found ways to make football happen in Tennessee. I'm super impressed with Nugent and the technical staff of the front office. Super impressed with the players on the pitch. The roster looks different now than it did at the beginning of the year. And I think that is normal throughout these leagues. It's not as normal in USL 1, as you well know, right? Those are stalwart rosters that stay the same. You see that a lot, though, in MLS Next Pro. And the development of the roster throughout the year worked for Chattanooga. It was a gritty shootout win. They had to get that second point to lock up the home match. That's what I'd say about Chattanooga. Miraculous day. beautiful day for the Scenic City, and proud of them, emotional over the win. I'm bummed for Atlanta United too. You know, I'm a big fan of the front office of Atlanta United and the club, and obviously living in Tennessee. Well, I probably should be a Nashville fan, but sorry guys, I'm more of an Atlanta United guy. Big fan of Atlanta United. So it hurts to have to knock out our buddies to the south in a club that I'm very fond of personally and involved with.
Jarrett Smith with Gabe Schray discussing MLS Next Pro, the twos, Chattanooga FC, and the impending playoff chaos as you get to pick your dance partner pretty soon.
Don't worry about it. We can just assume everything on the other side of Murfreesboro is Nashville territory,
Hey,
and
let's
everything
go.
south of that
Write
is
that down.
Chattanooga
Can we put
territory.
that in writing?
Yes.
I have long argued that instead of I didn't think Huntsville would be where Nashville put their second team. I long argued you should put it somewhere absurd, like make people go to like Auburntown, which is about 30 miles east of Murfreesboro, near in Cannon County. Just give them something absolutely sick and demented to go do. You give it about to pick your dance partner. Why or why not would it be Huntsville and an absolute barn-burning massacre of chaos and hatred in this game?
I think Huntsville would be fun. I from a front office technical standpoint, I'm sure that Chris Nugent already knows who he wants to pick, and Sebastian Geraldo, right, from Chattanooga FC. These guys are driven by data. They're driven by analytics. Every decision they make, they have a statistical reason behind it. There's no, I like the vibes, right? Like they know what they're doing. I personally am a vibes guy, right? I like sports that way. I roll my commentary that way, but you know, you can't make that decision with what's at stake based off of vibes. So I like the thought of Huntsville. I'm sure on paper they know exactly who they want to pick. They probably knew before yesterday was wrapped up, right? And they're ready to make that selection. I wouldn't be surprised if it were Huntsville, but you know what? You could tell me it's anyone, and I wouldn't be surprised because I'm like I said, they know something that I'm not going to be able to figure out by pouring through the stats on the MLS Next Pro website, and they're going to make decisions based off of that. I hope, anyhow.
Thursday, October 9, the quarterfinal schedule matchups expected to be announced. Traditionally, what MLS Next Pro does is they do the presentation live on the YouTubes or on their social, and you get to sit there and figure out what's going on. And it may just end up being a case of the leftovers because of the late goal that you had with Red Bulls against Toronto FC2. They're the number one. You figure they're going to pick Core, and Core away from Truist Point is a group that I think that you can kind of lock down on. FC Cincinnati 2 beat OCB yesterday, Purple Team B, and so that got them to the 7. You figure Union is probably going to pick FC Cincinnati 2. Then it's up to the Revs to pick either the Fire or Huntsville City, and so that's where we are here. I think that it's the Revs trying to figure out what they want to do in this. Do you go up against a team in Chicago that has given up more goals than, God, I don't know. Who pick your recent Civ? I don't know. Inter Miami, Messi and Friends 2, whatever you want. Sporting Kansas City, take your pick. Chicago Fire 2 have given up 5 consistently and in a bad way. And so maybe that's where the Revs go. And then that leaves Chattanooga picking Huntsville for the matchup in 2 weeks' time on the 19th. And so this might be chalk in the East, but the benefactor of that would be the last matchup, and where Chattanooga and Huntsville is like, yeah, okay, we're fine, whatever. We'll go ahead and line it up and knock it down. From your exposure to this rivalry, Gabe, what have you seen with Chattanooga and Huntsville other than the fact that no, sir, they don't like each other. They don't like each other one bit.
Yeah, it's not as clean and respectful, I think, as the Chattanooga and Atlanta United 2 rivalry. It's a high quality match every time. It's always kind of like all the gloves are off, right? This is going to be a match. I think if it comes to that, it will be a brawl, but I think Chattanooga more than capable of handling Huntsville. I think it's going to be a close match if they meet in the playoff. I like the matchups that are on the table for Chattanooga with who's qualified and who you can select from and how things should shake out. Especially, I think you about have it right as far as picks go, by the way. I'd love to see them pick Huntsville, so Chicago falls to Chattanooga, and Chattanooga can pump in 6 at Fort Finley, on the opening day of the playoff. But I don't think that'll happen. And if it is Huntsville, tactically, Huntsville is going to try to, slow Chattanooga down. And Chattanooga has done a great job this year of kind of shifting their tactic throughout the season. They have started to not try to maintain possession, and they like to sit back and counter. And you saw it yesterday, right? That long pass. It was 2 passes the length of the field. Jakupovic goes to midfield, little chip from center field, right down the right sideline, the touch line over to Yuval Cohen, carries it over the right penalty arc and hammers it. I mean, it was a beautiful score. That's where they've been getting those goals all season long. Long outlet feeds, well thought out counters, guys in the right place at the right time. Chattanooga is left behind their possession-based play.
Jarrett with our buddy Gabe Schray talking MLS Next Pro and maybe a little USL League One as we go.
First of all, Southern rivalries don't get the respect they deserve nationwide. That is
Jarrett's on the highways of
the amount of hatred that but I want to ask you, because your perspective for this sort of situation yesterday, take us back to you're in the booth. How are you emotionally while calling this game and having the endings jump around like a frog in a hot pot?
I think I got the gist of that.
Basically what it was like, because people got to, on the 2 side of things, they were hearing me with a tablet off to my right, calling the action in front of me and trying to do 9 things at once. What was it like for you trying to do 9 things at once yesterday?
It was doing 9 things at once. And that's typical of what we do with the broadcasting thing. I think people don't realize how much goes into it. I'm a paper guy, so you'll see. I mean, you saw it. I cut down about a half a forest every time I do a game.
Right there with you, brother.
There's guys my age that call it off a laptop, and I'm like, you're some sort of psychopath, right? I like to print it off. I have a big 2-foot-tall chart. I usually print off 10 to 20 pages of notes. So I brought the standings with me. I tried to understand our 2 clubs' positions very well, right? I wanted to understand what Atlanta needed beyond just winning, like what other conditions are there, and understood those. So they did check the boxes, as I'm sure you saw before the shootout, knew that, and Chattanooga obviously just needed 2 points. So that really was all I was worried about, in regards to the scenarios. There were a dozen other crazy mismatch scenarios for both sides outside of just the points where they could or could not qualify. But I boiled it down to that and kept an eye on a couple of the clubs that I thought would be interesting and kind of referenced where they were at as far as qualification. Kept an eye on scores. There were some big scores for decision day. We lost them entirely.
Jarrett does Irish goodbyes. The answer's for everything.
Irish goodbyes, I love it. A little TV Irish goodbye.
Absolutely.
It's chaotic. It always is. It's a lot of fun. And there's nothing quite like it. As you can speak better than anyone, there's nothing like delivering a live show, trying to hit your marks, and then you bring in a sport like soccer. Soccer, like American football, is one of the few things that can bring out that emotion, I think. You don't get that emotion with a lot of sports, I feel, John, unless you're on the team or you're heavily affiliated with a team. As a broadcaster, it's rare for a team to move me to an emotional place. I kind of steel myself to it. I'm doing a couple hundred games a year. It's all I do at night. And it was an emotional day for sure. It was very exciting. It was a lot of fun. And just thankful to be a part of it more than anything.
What has Eldin Jakupovic brought to the table between the sticks for Chattanooga FC? Because you mentioned the outlet passes, and it seems to me that Jakupovic does better with his long irons than he does with his driver, if you know what I mean. Because there are times when he'll do the outlet and introduce it, and he'll pull out that 3-iron and he'll hit that stinger, and it'll go up the right-hand side, and you'll get everything started like it was on that one goal that happened yesterday. It seems like if Jakupovic wants to try to put some loft on the ball and he gets out that sand wedge, it kind of goes, and he's got to work on his swing, man, because he's opening up those hips and it goes as a slice out of play. What is it like having someone who's 41 years old, who celebrated his birthday in the 20 minutes of chaos last week, and he was on the phone with folks celebrating his birthday after that match was over? But what has it been like to have Jakupovic between the sticks as that anchor for Chattanooga FC defensively so they can get everything moving on those outlet passes after he picks up the ball?
You know, I've always tried to make it a point to spend time with Chattanooga's guys, and that's one I've not been able to spend some time with yet. Eldin Jakupovic, 41 years old, you mentioned it, leads the league in saves, over 125 saves during the regular season in MLS NEXT PRO, 10 clean sheets, league leader. Unreal. Absolute brick wall, absolute menace for these guys who are trying to develop their talent. They get down in that final third. I mean, Atlanta United too, great example yesterday, right? Absolutely shut down a couple of electric talents. You see Javi carry the ball down into the 18, and you're like, this is it. He's going to score. And Eldin Jakupovic does what he's done for over 2 decades. He makes an unbelievable highlight reel save. You go to the shootout, he makes back-to-back insane saves like you just can't even imagine. And that's what he's done all season long. He's a walking human highlight reel. To say that I'm impressed with him would be an understatement. You know, when I judge an athlete, John, I judge coaches more so this way than athletes, but a lot of times at the professional level, I kind of revert to coaching them like they're a true professional, right? And I want to see a lot of things from you more than just being good. You know, it's one thing to be good or do your job on the field. It's another to be better than that off of the field. Eldin Jakupovic is an incredible guy. He's got a family. He fits right into Chattanooga, Tennessee. As soon as he got to town, they told me the front office is like, yeah, he's been working with the young kids. I'm like, that's awesome. That's a leader. That's somebody who's into it. And I didn't know he was going to be this good at that time, but I was impressed right away. I'm like, oh, this guy's got this great resume. You know, this dude's going down and working with the academy kids. I'm impressed. And here he is, and he's probably the best goalkeeper in MLS NEXT PRO, maybe even hands down, right? And there's some good talent throughout the league. And unreal watching him this year. It's been a joy. I hope he comes back. I don't know what his plans are at 41 going on 42, but I hope we can hang on to him.
You are incredibly busy. You're a man of many divisions right now. As I mentioned, you caught a late night flight out of South Florida to come back to call the CFC match in the booth next to me up there at Fort Finley. You've been spending a lot of time in USL League One this year. I've got to ask some USL League One stuff before we get out of here. Red Wolves and One Knox and Velocity, 3 teams separated by 3 points. I didn't know that the Red Wolves had this in them, frankly, at the beginning of the season. They kind of hiccuped here recently. One Knox had a 4-match unbeaten string snap the other day. Velocity, you know what they've been bringing to the table. You got FC Naples, Union Omaha. They're all in. We just don't know the where when it comes to the postseason. Then you've got P-Hop, the Portland Hearts of Pine, who are now on the other side of their 3-game win streak with a 2-game losing streak. South Georgia Tormenta with McKeever, they've now won 6 on the spin, and they're in 7th. Charlotte has stumbled. They've lost 4 of 5, which has brought Forward Madison and AV Alta back into the discussion for the 8. What in the wide world of sports? And Greenville's at 31 points. So what in the wide world of sports is going on at USL League One?
I could talk about USL One all day. I am
that's why we brought it up.
So impressed, man. What Alan Baugh and the league have done, it's so fun, and they're growing so fast. This season coming to a close has been more fun than I thought it would be. All season long, you know, the USL One coaches like to tell the announcers when we do our calls for ESPN, they say, oh, you know, there's a lot of parity in the league. I think I've heard that 50 times from coaches in USL One this year. It was true. They weren't lying. We're at the end of the year. Everyone's right there on that line. I mean, everyone's separated by a couple of points. Mm-hmm. And I used the word brawl earlier to describe the opening round of the playoff for Chattanooga and Huntsville potentially. Mm-hmm. This is a dogfight. We're down in the mud. We're slinging it. I mean, this is just a crazy, crazy backyard fight here between these guys. You look at the playoff line, and you've got all these clubs that are not eliminated. They're just riding it out. I mean, Richmond's not even eliminated yet, and they're just ahead of Westchester, who is mathematically out. Most clubs have 3 matches left. A few have 4. You look at Forward Madison. I did that match on Saturday with Ricky Lopez Espen, and we had a blast. I mean, it couldn't have been more fun. I would have liked to have seen Portland hang around with Forward Madison a little longer. Hearts of Pine just couldn't hang in there. It was a 3-1 win for Forward Madison. It felt like they were going to storm back and make something happen at the end, and took a red on just a bad decision by JT Kamara through an elbow. You just can't do that. And it was right after he had a great service that ended up scoring from inside of the wing. But just a lot of great competitive matches at this point in the year. You know, Tormenta plays host on Friday night, and I had the call on that as well. and Tormenta brings them in, greets them, and it's a barn burner between them and Westchester. The New York side, I thought would be able to potentially handle them. I thought it'd be a good match, and it felt like South Georgia Tormenta ran away with it. I mean, they were cooking with gas from the get, and they've been so good. I spent about 20 minutes on the phone with Coach McKeever this week, talked to him about his philosophies, and so he gave me the 3 R's. Let me see if I can remember this that I've written down. Ruthless, resilient. I can't remember the third R. That's going to kill me. I'll come back to it. Ruthless was the third one.
Okay.
And he finished with that. And he said, listen, these guys have been good all year long. They figured it out. It's working in my system. Since he's taken over, they're 7-1-1. Like, that's nuts. That's insane. Their turnaround is wild. McKeever finished with the word ruthless, though, and it was like he was really trying to make a point to me. They're doing everything right. They're resilient. They bounce back. They play well. They need to be ruthless. They need to look for blood, and felt like they looked for blood on Friday. I think they could do more, but South Georgia Tormenta, speaking of soccer down here, has turned into a really, really nice side down the back stretch.
No doubt, and they have a trip to Spokane, then they go to Greenville for the Peach States Derby, and then they wrap up with home against Texoma on the 25th for their last match of the season on match day 30. All right, lay it all out for folks. Do you know your schedule for this week yet?
This week, I have no soccer, unbelievably, actually.
What?
I know, yeah. I've got high school football. I've got the Lafayette High School Ramblers. I've got a tape delay game coming up, national game on NSBN with Stockbridge High School. It'll be a rebroadcast of their game at Springport on Friday. And then on Saturday, SESN is planning on carrying at least one college football game. I think we're going to travel with Reinhardt University, who's just north of Atlanta there in Waleska, up to Kentucky as they battle the Knights of Kentucky Christian.
Wow. Some
All-American football this week, unfortunately.
Some NAIA football, American football, and that's always those road trips up there into the Ohio Valley and the Mid-State. Those are always fun locations to do stuff. Great to see you, my friend. It was great to see you yesterday. It's great to see you for a bit of the continuing saga today. Get your nap in because I know stuff's going to be busy, and I know you've got meetings out the you-know-what to kind of get everything all orchestrated. As always, great to see you, my friend. Don't be a stranger. I'll be knocking on your door with Next Pro coming, with USL League One hitting the postseason and last weeks of the regular season. I'll be knocking on your door.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you soon, man.
You got it, Gabe Schray. And the Schray guy, by the way, you can follow him on the 280 character app as such. And so, no, it's good to catch up with Gabe. Like I said, it was good to see him yesterday. Gabe was in the larger booth at Finley. He had like the better space. He had like the big table and the all the cameras and everything. I'm off to the right. I'm blocked by a curtain. I can't see what's going on. They're trying to keep windows open. And once again, thanks to everybody up at Chattanooga FC, by the way, for being great hosts for us and letting us be able to broadcast the match yesterday on Decision Day. And obviously it was, and to Dr. D's description, it was a really rough way to end the year for the Twos. But you look at what they've been able to do this year, and we have a Twos Review is up on the network. Twos Review has the rundown of all of the players that got minutes with Atlanta United 2 this year. And to be able to see them and to see all of the young guys specifically, and to see how the players that were brought into the Twos, like Salma Safaro and Ryan Carmichael, those with the Inter-Miami connections, brought up to be a part of things. Nick Sesak, to see him how, as one of the veterans, Ronan Wynn coming in off the draft, and seeing how all of those players were there as the veterans and Javi Armases and such, to see them be there for the younger guys, and to see all of the academy guys continue to shine and grow into the situation that they were in, first with Steve Cook and the staff, and then with Jose Silva after Steve went to go be in charge of the academy up at Lexington SC. And that was an opportunity that you can't pass up. If that is where your heart is, then Lex SC basically was like, here, and Steve took it, and we had to catch up with Steve, as a matter of fact. We need to find out what's going on with him up at Lex SC. I'm glad you reminded me. So to see the young guys, and this is a question that I have tried to reinforce this season, especially later in the year. when the team hit that hot streak, and Steve Cook and the staff, they believed in these guys all season long, and they knew that if they got into the playoffs, they could make a run. And you see the development that is there. You see all of those shootout times where they end up as draws after 90 minutes, and then they lose in the shootout. They only get the 1 point instead of the 2. But then you see those shootout losses turn into shootout wins. You see the shootout wins turn into wins in 90 minutes. And to see the faith that the coaching staffs had in the players as the season went along, it was great to see all of that reinforced and come out onto the field, and what we got to see on a daily basis with the twos. So it was absolutely heartbreaking to see what happened yesterday. And you know that there are lessons that are taught sometimes, and they're the cruelest lessons that you can learn. But you will learn from those lessons, and eventually over time you will be reinforced internally in handling those situations in the future. There are lessons that you got to learn sometimes. And with as heartbreaking a lesson as it was yesterday in Chattanooga, I personally can't wait to see the group of guys come back together for 26. Really can't wait. Cannot wait a bit. And I'm looking forward to seeing all of the young guys take that next step and see them grow and continue to evolve. I mean, you look at Toto Majub, who is getting comfortable at left center back. You got to see, Didi Cibrian, who's 15, 16 years old. Cooper Sanchez, who was a part of the discussion before national team duty. All of this. John O'Ransom is a part of the discussion. John O'Ransom is on the fast track to make sure that he will be paid attention to when it comes to the first team discussion. Obviously, you're not going to rush him, but if he continues on this track, then you might have Jaden Hibbert and John O'Ransom as keepers for the Canadian men's national team under Jesse Marsh in the next couple of years. So there is so much promise. Santi Pita, Patrick Weah, Gabriel Wisse, all of these guys, all the young players that are learning to grow in the Atlanta United 2 system. It was fun to see them grow this year, and it's going to be I cannot wait. Obviously, we're not going to, as the home of the twos, we're not going to sit there and stop telling you twos stories, but I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do out of the blocks next season from jump. So that was, like I said, it was a heartbreaker yesterday. That is without dispute. But I can't wait for next season and the promise that was shown by these guys rushing into the playoff picture as they did, to see them go. All right, let me say hi to everybody. I haven't had a chance to say hi to everybody this morning. So this will be a first, getting to check on everybody and make sure that we got to say hi. And obviously, I know that there was a lot of discussion that you guys had involving Atlanta United when we were in that part of the discussion. So good morning, David. Morning, Alex. Morning, DM Tim. Morning, Dr. D. Morning, Emilio. And let's see. David, Emilio, Alex, Dr. D, Katie Weaver, good morning. Abby, good morning. Let's see. Morning, Dell. And I'm trying to see if there is anyone that I might have missed. Let's see. There's Alex. Morning, Lokeville. Lokeville came in as a part of the discussion. Let's see. I came in as a part of the discussion, and then I decided to mute myself. Okay, that's it. Good morning, you. Morning, Wiley. Let's see. Who else am I missing here? But yeah, traditionally what I do, you don't want to hear me breathe or sip drinks while there's sound bites going on. So I try to be courteous. And so, of course, I traditionally forget to come back and unmute myself when a soundbite is over. And so traditionally that's what happens, especially on Mondays. Abby, I don't know, because the camera shots were pretty tight at BMO. And that would be a question. And that would be a question for an all 22 camera about Latte Lot when he came in for Jamal. And yeah, you saw Jamal backtracking all the way to like 10 yards shy of the corner flag when he would come back. He would double back on defense. Dr. D with a question about the U.S. at the U20. So let's find out. So U20 World Cup. And let's see. I don't want the odds. I don't want the odds in this. I just want the U.S. U20 World Cup. So let's go U20 World Cup. Go to the Wikipedias and let's see. So if we go U20 World Cup and take out the U.S. part. So let's see if we have, let's see, 25 World Cup venues and marketing and history. Back in 23, Argentina was the host country. Uruguay finished first. Italy, Israel, and South Korea. It was supposed to be in 2021, but we go back to 2019 when it was in Poland, Ukraine, South Korea, Ecuador, and Italy. In the group stage in 2019, the U.S. was in the group stage in 2019. They advanced to the knockouts, beat Nigeria in the group stage. And then we go into the knockouts with the U.S. as your 2 coming out of the group. They beat France, lost to Ecuador in the round of 8. So the U.S. in 2019 was in the round of 8. In 2017, when it was in South Korea, England, Venezuela, Italy, and Uruguay. In the knockout stage, in the group stage, you actually had Vanuatu and Iran in Vietnam in the 2017 version, Group F. They won Group F. And then from there, you go to the knockout stage in 2017. And the U.S. beats New Zealand, loses to Venezuela in the round of 8. So looking at things, it looks like it's been the round of 8, and then they kind of hit a wall. 2015, they were in New Zealand, Serbia, Brazil, Mali, Senegal. Then you get to the knockout stage. The U.S. loses to Serbia in penalties in the round of 8 in the quarterfinals. So it looks like the quarterfinals as a baseline is where the U.S. kind of runs into their roadblocks. So you get into the knockouts. The U.S. did not make it into the knockouts in 2013. Did they even qualify in 2013? That would be the big question. 2013, they did qualify in 2013, but they finished last in the group. So it looks like the round of 8 is the brick wall for the United States in the U20 World Cup settings. And so that's what you're kind of hunting for, is to improve from that, Dr. D. And I think to answer your question about Brad, that's going to be up to Brad. But I know that Brad wants to play, and he wants to play regularly. So it would be a question to ask Brad once the season is over. I think that Brad wants to be in a place where he can compete for a number 1 job and be the number 1 guy. So that'll be one of the plot lines to keep an eye on for Brad this season. So let's see. Morning 4 card. And yeah, it's coming home. Let's see. So is it coming home? Is it really? Well, apparently not this year. Tomorrow's when it all starts again. Ukraine, Spain, Chile, Mexico. Argentina, Nigeria, Colombia, South Africa, Japan, France, Paraguay, Norway, USA, Italy, and now during the show, even Thursday at 3:30 Eastern Time, it's dead even. Juicebox purveyors are throwing a blanket over the whole thing. Both sides are a plus 160, and your 90-minute draw is a plus 215. So that's what you're staring at with that. So once again, we're going to be spending some time, obviously, talking about the European window and the international window and who's doing what and where, and we'll discuss all of that stuff. We have Serie A on Fox Deportes at 12:30. We have Uruguay Primera on Gold TV at 6. And you can get that Gold TV on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. That will help you out, get a bunch of different networks. You get all the BNs. You end up getting Tigo Sports, Canal 4, Central America Television. You get CATV as a part of it, TVV, Liga 1 Max Pro, Gold TV in English and Spanish, let's see. Who else am I missing? You got plenty over at Fanati. So you can also watch the Uruguayan League, a lot of the South American leagues with their own league broadcast. You can watch the Argentinian League and a bunch of different other things. Women, they have NWSL. You've got Angel City, Kansas City. That's going to be an interesting matchup at 10:30, and that is your activity in the pro game today. For college, you have one matchup. It is women. It is at 8 o'clock, and it is BYU and Oklahoma State. Taking the quick tour of all the news and notes before we get out of here. Barcelona's unbeaten run in La Liga came to an end, beaten 4-1 at Sevilla. Napoli beat Genoa 2-1 in Italy. You have Ange Postecoglou entering board talks at Nottingham Forest after only a handful of matches. What people need to understand is that when you have a coach that is a 180 from the coach that you dismiss, it's going to take time to figure out, okay, who can adjust to what the new coach wants and who can't. But patience not being a virtue for a whole lot of folks in and around Nottingham Forest, Ange Postecoglou's got to look at the board. Russell Martin got sacked yesterday as the manager of Rangers. He was dismissed after fans surrounded the team bus at Falkirk. 1-1 draw. Manager left Falkirk Stadium via a side door in a waiting car after the draw, which left Rangers 11 points from the top after 7 games. Fans had surrounded the team bus in Falkirk. Rangers board had been reluctant to part with Martin, only hired in June despite protests from supporters. An understanding was obviously that Martin's position had become untenable. They've only won one of their top flight games to date, which was combined with performances in Europe that weren't that good. Martin only won 5 of 17 competitive matches. And it looks like Steven Gerrard might be in the discussion to come back. Mark van Bommel also is a part of that discussion too. So you got that to look at when it comes to the new round of manager talks. Jack Grealish got a goal at the end, really at the death. Everton gets a win over Crystal Palace. Their unbeaten run stops at 19. Rodri injured for Manchester City in their matchup on the weekend. Erling Haaland continues to impress. They knock off Brentford. But once again, the injury to Rodri, and we keep an eye on that. According to the Times, it looks like David Cogan has been confirmed as the head of the Football Regulators Commission despite an inquiry. Was announced on Monday despite criticism of his nomination, as he was revealed to be a party donor for one of the two sides. Government confirmed him. William Shawcross, Commissioner for Public Appointments, has been conducting a full investigation after a complaint about the appointment of Cogan, a media exec. Confirmation of the appointment came today. Ministers believing it's important that the regulator gets up and running as soon as possible, even if there are criticisms around the appointment process in the future. One party side, the Tories, previously criticized the nomination of Cogan to head the regulator after he was revealed to be a party donor to the other side on Labor, and he donated to the leadership campaigns of both Sir Keir Starmer, and the Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy. The sums for Starmer and Nandy were below £1,500, so it didn't have to be declared on registers of interest. However, with once again the election, Labor MPs and candidates getting a lot of donations from Cogan or his company. Nominated in April, Nandy removed herself from the final decision. Government also declined to release documents and emails around the appointment after a FOIA request by the Times, which wanted to see details of exchanges involving Nandy and the DCMS permanent secretary, Susanna Story, around his candidacy. So that's at the Times today. So that might be something akin to required reading. We're going to catch up, obviously, with our buddy Jason Stevens later today. That will run tomorrow, and we will find out what's going on in Jason's mind as we continue our tour of multi-club ownership in the European theater and how it impacts everything else. I think today's topic is going to be MCOs in the women's game and the merger of two countries' leagues into one. Two countries in the European theater are thinking seriously again of merging their leagues and coming up with something akin to a two-country Super League. And we'll find out what that's going to look like coming up around the corner if it comes to pass. Martin Odegaard is out. Another injury setback, a knee injury on Saturday with the defeat of West Ham. It was a knee injury, and once again, I believe it is an MCL for Odegaard that they have to keep an eye on now, and they don't know how long he is going to be out of action. No momentum with our team despite the win, according to Ruben Amorim, and Odegaard's knee injury is confirmed, but Declan Rice's injury is less clear. Odegaard withdrew from Norway's upcoming internationals against Israel and New Zealand after suffering an MCL injury to the left knee in the win over West Ham. He will continue to be assessed, according to Arsenal, and treated by the medical team during the international window with the aim of returning to action as soon as possible. First player in Premier League history to be substituted before half in 3 straight starts, forced off following a collision with Crescencio Somerville after having to go off early with Leeds and Forest due to shoulder issues. No time for his return. Press conference on Saturday. He had his knee in a brace, meaning Odegaard after the match. Declan Rice had to be withdrawn in closing stages due to back pain. Understood he'll be fine to report to England for their games against Wales and Latvia. So you have that to keep an eye on as well. I think that's going to do it for the morning. Morning, Rich Ransom. And Rich, obviously, yes. Rich, Rich, no, you were not late to see and to discuss the pie plate heading to Philadelphia. And it was interesting television when Bradley Carnell was asked about his time in St. Louis and leading to what was going on this year in Philadelphia. And he basically ended the interview right then and there. He's like, we're not going to talk about it. And he goes and leaves and celebrates. So big celebration at Subaru Park as the Philadelphia Union won the pie plate, and they get to hang on to it. And we will see where it goes from here with 2 weekends left, 1 match day left for most, 2 match days left for some, and we'll see where it goes from here. So once again, remember tomorrow, we also have to talk about Sheffield Wednesday and Boston Legacy signing folks in the NWSL out of the blocks. Tomorrow, it is going to be Jason Brown from the NPSL. We get an update on the new regional league and find out how things are going there, and our conversation with Jason Stevens on continued economics and the sport of soccer. That is at 10:30 tomorrow morning as well. And we're going to be obviously efforting a bunch of folks as we get ready for the weekend and this tweener weekend, whether it is opposition research down in South Florida, getting ready for Atlanta United and Messi and friends, or all the other matchups that are going on, and everybody kind of catching their breath a little bit, making up matches on the board like LAFC playing in the midweek and then playing on the weekend during the international window. So that is the morning show here on Monday. Thanks to Gabe Schray for talking about MLS NEXT PRO and USL League One. Thanks to Jarrett for dropping by before he Irish goodbyed. Thanks to Bart Keeler for coming on to discuss Alan Chapman and the larger discussions therein. And thanks to Abe Gordon for dropping by and letting us know what's on his mind with Atlanta United and LAFC. Obviously, tomorrow we'll talk a little bit about what else happened in the weekend in Major League Soccer, any of the other news that's going on, anything that breaks this afternoon. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Soccer Over There from the Brew House live. And we have picks of the week. We have all the activity going on. We'll talk more Premier League. We'll talk about all the other leagues that are going on. We'll talk about what happened in La Liga. And hopefully Jason got some rest. My guess is that his plane probably got in about 6:30 this morning, and I'm hoping Jason is asleep right now. So morning espresso might be more of an afternoon espresso, but we will certainly find out in a little while. And if you have not subscribed to Morning Espresso, please do. You can get it in the form that appears in video or audio on the SDH networks, or you can get the newsletter that comes into your inbox every day when Jason puts together what's on his mind on a Monday through Friday, except for the night after, or the morning after Atlanta Soccer tonight. So it's like 4 days a week, because if he's talking about stuff late night Tuesday, probably nothing's changed going into the morning on Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, newsletter, inbox, video, and audio for the Morning Espresso presented by our friends at Oglethorpe University. And we can't thank them enough for their interest in hanging out here as a part of the SDH network going forward. So to all of you, once again, thanks for dropping by, as you always do. I know that on days like this, it is a Reaction Monday, and the reactions are fast and plentiful, and we can't thank you enough for it. So back at it again in a little less than 22 hours to discuss what else is going on in and around the planet, as we always do Monday through Friday here on the SDH Network. Mucha Platial. You see it right there? Mucha Platial. I found this T-shirt this morning. Figured I'd bust it out. Mucha Platial, play it safe. Since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this. Back at it tonight, 8 o'clock, Brew House. Soccer over there. Back here, 9:05 tomorrow morning for SDH AM.